Talk about, dude.
I want to talk.
Because I can talk about.
Let's go into the Hobbit because we're talking
since it is going to be made soon.
The recent developments are that they are going into production. When did they say? February?
I heard February.
Okay.
Now whether Peter Jackson will be the director or Guillermo del Toro, who did what was that? Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth, which was visually a stunning movie. It's not in Spanish, but visually.
Yeah.
He was initially slated, so I don't know if he's still slated or not. But Peter Jackson is going to be executive producer, and most of the CGI and all that will probably be done by the same people who did Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
So
the armor, same armor,
Oh, they're going to reuse that for the orcs.
Yeah, and they'll probably recreate Hobbiton for it, of course. It took them 2 years to create Hobbiton for the Lord of the Rings, just for those few minutes of the Fellowship. Yeah, 2 years to create.
Wait, so they're going to reuse that set? Or you just
they'll have to recreate it because it was a farm. It was a person's farm in New Zealand, and they asked permission. And of course, now it's a world famous piece of land, so the people make lots of money for tourism. So.
I contacted them about their holdings of the armor and all the props for the orcs, all that warfare.
That's worth so much money.
I wanted to use it just as a different sci-fi fantasy.
Right, cool.
And they told us that
no.
no way, no.
Those things are they're so
I
valuable.
was like, okay.
Yeah,
right.
They're valuable. I'm sorry, but it's like having one of the initial. It's like there was I don't know if you watch Big Bang Theory, but it's a funny show about geeks, and through a roundabout way, they think they got a hold of one of the 9 rings that were actually used as prop rings in the movie. And of course, being the geeks they are, they all want it. And Sheldon, my favorite character, and the other 2 guys, they decide they're gonna, whoever holds on to it last gets the precious, right? So they're all sitting on the couch, and they all fall asleep. So Leonard, the one who actually dates the hot girl, comes in, finds them all asleep, takes the ring. Next morning, they wake up. What? Who got the ring? Leonard says, I mailed it back to Peter Jackson in New Zealand where it belongs, right? And they're like, you son of a bitch. And then later that night, he goes to this little box and he takes out the ring. He goes, my precious. It's funny. Big Bang Theory is a funny show.
I'm a total ongoing show? That's a TV show?
Yeah, it's a TV show. It's a comedy.
Kind of like something from the Time Bandits.
Yeah, Time Bandits is a great movie. But it's called The Big Bang Theory. It's about total nerds. My favorite character is Sheldon because he's just so alien.
So going back to The Hobbit, because we know now it's going to be two
parts. Right. So I'm guessing they will
where are they going to split it?
I'm believing they will split it when the dwarves are captured in Mirkwood by Legolas's father, King Thranduil of Mirkwood, which is why Gimli hated Legolas at first until they wound up become best friends. But at first he didn't like Legolas because his father was imprisoned by his father, so there was bad blood there. So that's where I think.
Is that before or after the thing happens with the giant spiders?
That's right after.
Okay. So is that the exact middle of the book, you think?
Well,
or is that...
Let me see. Warm welcome, barrels out of pond. That's when they write... Okay, flies and spiders. I'm thinking... Well, let's see. There's that. Close to the exact middle of the book.
Okay, this is my idea I saw about. I would think it's when they go... Bilbo gets separated for a while. They don't know where
because he has the ring.
This one he found the ring, but they're not...
No, he found the ring in the caves.
But they should do that in the first movie, but it should end when he escapes from Gollum and he rejoins with the party.
Right.
I mean, it's a major turning point.
That's a bit early, though.
It is early, but you see, if they develop... Because the end of the movie, the end of the book is not as interesting as they get captured by the trolls. So
I love the very end.
They put together, all the dwarves come and need another member of the party.
You are a very fine person, Mr. Baggins, and I am very fond of you. But you are only quite a little fellow in a wide world, after all. Thank goodness, said Bilbo, laughing, and handed him the tobacco jar. And that's the end of The Hobbit. And then the end of The Lord of the Rings is, just as it was in the movie, Sam comes home, Rosie Cotton, his wife, is there and with their kids, and he's like, well, I'm back.
You
and
know,
that was it.
This was big culture in the 60s before you were born.
Right.
And my brother had posters of Frodo smoking piped weed.
Right.
And
pipe weed.
Yeah, it said Frodo
the best
puffs
weed
piped,
in the South Side.
And the poster said Frodo puffs piped weed.
Yeah. And I had a Frodo Still Lives shirt.
And
I won an essay contest.
You know, my brother.
I got the picture somewhere where I've got a picture.
Well, the book was published in the 40s.
No, this one was published in 33. And The Lord of the Rings first came out in England in 54 and in America in 55. And that's just a fellowship. And then it took a couple of years for the succeeding.
He did a lot of writing.
I told you I'm a scholar of this.
No, when did he do most of his work, though? I thought this
at night, because he was a teacher. He taught
what years? Because something happened during the war.
Took him 17 years to do the Lord
During the
Rings.
war, there was kind of a...
He was injured badly, and many
in
of
the late 40s, he got back into it, didn't he? And then he got... Wasn't there a doubt whether it would be published, and then...
Well, the reason it was published in 3 volumes instead of 1, like it should have been, because it's one story, The Lord of the Rings.
That's a huge book.
The reason it was published in 3 volumes was for war rationing and whatnot. You know, only...
When England was recovering.
It was recovering from the war. So they were rationing paper, so books can only have so many pages. So they had to cut this 1,000-page book. Well, it was about 1,100 pages.
So where does the fellowship end?
The fellowship ends when it breaks. Okay, when they get to Tall Brandir, when the Falls of Rauros go down, and Tall Brandir, Frodo and Sam go to the other side of the bank, the eastern side of the bank, to go on their own. Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas realize that Frodo's going on his own, so they're going to rescue Merry and Pippin from the Orcs. Because the Orcs took them thinking they had the Ring of Power. Because all they were told was that halflings had it. So that's the beginning of the Two Towers. If you haven't seen it, it's the fight between Gandalf and the Balrog when they fall from the bridge of Barad-dûr.
That's where the Two Towers begins?
Yeah. You haven't seen it in the movie?
I've seen it, but I'm not as familiar as you.
Now, not in the books. That's not how it starts in the books. But in the movie, it starts with that awesome battle scene between Gandalf and Balrog. I mean, it's just...
The beginning of the book of the Two Towers as well.
Well, it basically is Merry and Pippin with the Uruk-hai and Gimli, Aragorn, Legolas running after him for days and days and days. Then they run into Gandalf the White, who they think is Saruman at first. Okay. Yeah. And if you notice in the movies, his voice sounded like Christopher Lee's, even though it actually was Ian McKellen. But it sounds like it's Christopher Lee. And in the book it says that they thought, because he kind of, because he sort of died, so his memory is a little weird,
Yeah.
So they're like, they think he's Saruman. And, so they, draw swords and stuff, and he just bats them, and they go. And then when they realize it's Gandalf, they're like, forgive us, we thought you were Saruman. And that's when he says, I am Saruman. Or rather, Saruman as he should have been,
Saruman should have been greater.
He
turned to the dark
side. Well, you got to
side.
understand, Saruman was the head of the White Council.
Yeah.
He also made a special study of the Rings of Power.
Yeah.
And he wanted the One Ring of Power. So when he made his alliance with Sauron, he was secretly searching for the One Ring of Power on his own to usurp Sauron.
Gandalf was just the Grey, but then there were other.
But then
there were other wizards that are never. Really
there's Radagast the Brown. There were.
He was just into. He was
just mentioned. He's just mentioned.
He doesn't do anything but hang out with little animals.
Yeah, but the only ones mentioned really are Radagast, Gandalf, and Saruman. But there were like 5 others.
In hibernation somewhere.
Who knows?
Not fighting the battle between good and evil.
No. I mean, you got to understand, Tolkien created a huge, vast universe. He can't have every...
But getting back to the movie, see, in the Fellowship, were you disappointed that they didn't do the hobbits getting sidetracked into
Into the Barrow Downs and Tom Bombadil? No,
Tom
I was
Bombadil.
not.
In his
I expected
Lady Willow.
I was disappointed on the one hand, but as a realist, I was not. You got to understand, it's 11 and a half hours of film with all the extendeds put together.
Right.
If they put the Tom Bombadil thing,
that's
the Fellowship of the Ring would have been another.
Exactly.
It's several chapters in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's not important to the action.
It was still a 3-hour movie.
It's its own story. Why don't they do that as a separate movie? Is there enough material in that for a movie?
There is so much material. You could do Silmarillion. You could do. There's so much material to make more movies after The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. They could. I mean, if you want to do the old histories, you know, like I've got to read this Curse of Morgoth to you. Okay, this is